You're not our kin. Depart at once. En route to a camping expedition with my spouse, Joseph, and his folks, we made a pit stop at a highway rest area. As I stepped out of the RV, Joseph hurled these stinging words my way. What? Pardon me, I stammered, taken aback by his sudden shift in demeanor. He appeared as if transformed into an entirely different individual from the considerate husband I knew. Witnessing my bewilderment, the trio exchanged smirks, and Joseph initiated driving the RV away. This can't be real. They wouldn't abandon me here in the middle of nowhere. With panic seizing me, I dialed a number, only to be met with a startling reply from my mother-in-law. Did you genuinely believe you could join us? How audacious of you. Please don't bother in return. I was anticipating our trip together. Well, the highway only goes one way. You can't just turn back. Furthermore, you're not part of our clan. You're merely my daughter-in-law. Understand your position. At this point, we're off to enjoy ourselves without you. As I stared in disbelief at the abruptly terminated call, the RV gradually dwindled in size until it vanished from sight. The words slicing through me, denying my place in their family, left a searing ache in my chest. This is unbearable. After all the preparation I did, and then bitterness and heartbreak surged within me, overwhelming my senses. Helpless, I had no recourse but to summon a taxi and retreat home. I'm Allison, 31 years old, married to Joseph for 2 years now. He's my age and bought us a house when I hesitated to reside with his parents. Though it's close to my in-laws' home, it's preferable to living under their roof. Yet, their bohemian souls, springing tasks upon me unexpectedly, grocery runs, kitchen scrubbing amidst piled dishes and cooking grease. It can feel like harassment at times, though Joseph always apologizes, saying, I'm sorry for my parents' behavior. So I remind myself endurance is key. Both his parents are keen on appearances, treating me with surprising kindness in public. I tread carefully, avoiding any negativity about them to evade becoming the villain. Nevertheless, I harbored a glimmer of hope that someday I might come to understand my in-laws better. However, being abandoned by my husband was a blow too severe for me to quickly shake off. The conversation about the camping excursion had arisen a week prior during our visit to his parents on our day off. While tasked with tidying the storage room, I stumbled upon a lantern. Do you folks go camping? I inquired. Huh? What's that about? Came the puzzled response. I found a lantern in the storage room. Oh, that. We got it just in case of a blackout. Had totally slipped our minds. Ah, I see. My dad is big on camping, and I used to go with him often, so I was curious if you share the interest. As I shared anecdotes about my father's passion for camping and owning an RV, my husband's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Wow, that sounds incredible. I've always wanted to give it a try. Then it's settled. Let's embark on our inaugural family camping trip next week, 1 night, 2 days. Allison, could you arrange for an RV rental? My father treasures his RV, dedicating his free moments to its upkeep. I'm uncertain whether he'd be willing to lend it to us, I expressed. Well, now it's up to you to persuade him. You'd better plead for it. Understand? Urged my husband. Faced with the sudden request, I hesitated, but Joseph implored. It's our maiden camping venture, and we're clueless about what we'll need. Borrowing your dad's RV would be safer. Plus, I want to delight my folks with an enjoyable camping excursion. Please, Allison. With such earnest entreaties, I had little choice but to acquiesce. Hurriedly, I made my way to my father's abode and laid out the situation. To my astonishment, he readily agreed. Really? Are you sure? I asked, taken aback. Absolutely. I thought you might decline, given how meticulously you tend to it in your spare time. But if it's for you, Allison, I'm more than happy to lend it, and your desire to please Joseph's parents touches me deeply. Here, take this entire set of camping gear so you can fully enjoy your first camping expedition. As novices, these items should serve you well. My father meticulously chose user-friendly gear, patiently explaining each item's purpose. Witnessing his care warmed my heart, filling me with joy. I hope this camping trip can help bridge the gap with my in-laws. I mused aloud. Well, then I'll do my best to prepare, I resolved. Securing a campground equipped with power and conveniently close to a hot spring, I shared the news with my husband and in-laws, eliciting their excitement. We're incredibly fortunate to have you, Allison. I'm practically bursting with anticipation, exclaimed my mother-in-law. I'm thrilled to hear that, I replied sincerely. On the day of our adventure, I eagerly boarded the RV driven by my husband. As we hit the highway bound for the campground, anticipation coursed through me. However, my mother-in-law's demands resurfaced as we journeyed. Joseph, I'm parched. Could we stop at the next interchange? She requested. Mom, I brought drinks. Take your pick from here, Joseph replied, gesturing to the provisions. None of these really suit my taste, remarked my mother-in-law, browsing through the drink options. As my daughter-in-law, you should know what I like, she added pointedly. I apologize. I murmured, feeling a pang of guilt. Exiting the car at the interchange to fetch her a Dr. Pepper, as per her request, I was met with an unexpected barrage of cold words from my husband. Allison, you're not part of our family. It's time for you to head home, he declared, his tone devoid of its usual warmth. Excuse me? What's gotten into you all of a sudden? I questioned, bewildered. He seemed like a stranger, a far cry from the Joseph I knew, the one who typically showed care and consideration. Stunned and struggling to comprehend his words, I watched as the RV resumed its journey, leaving me stranded. They've left me here in the middle of nowhere. Is this some sort of twisted joke? I wondered aloud, feeling a surge of disbelief. In a panic, I dialed a number, hoping for some semblance of reason, only to be met with a jolting response from my mother-in-law. Did you truly believe you were coming along? How audacious. You're not family, remember that. Goodbye. We'll enjoy ourselves as a family without you. Stunned and speechless, I stood frozen, staring at the disconnected call. How could they? After all the preparation, they excluded me. What was Joseph thinking? Waves of bitterness and sorrow crashed over me, overwhelming my senses. Unable to cope with the torrent of emotions, I called for a taxi and retreated home. The following day, my husband and in-laws returned from their camping trip, animatedly recounting their adventures. Not once did they offer an apology for leaving me behind. As I began to question them about the events of the previous day, I was met with a startling response. We did it to teach you a lesson as my wife. That's right, Allison. You just don't understand. Your role is that of our daughter-in-law. But resorting to leaving you stranded on the highway was necessary because you wouldn't comprehend otherwise. We need to discipline this incompetent wife properly before we can live together. The mention of living together from my mother-in-law caught me off guard. Fearing discussions were occurring behind my back, I interjected, What do you mean by living together? I haven't been informed of anything like this. My parents' place is showing its age and reaching its limits. I've purchased a new home where we can welcome both Dad and Mom to live with us starting next year. With us all living together, I'll need to enforce stricter rules. Be prepared, my husband declared. The news left me dumbfounded. Had he truly made such a significant decision without consulting me? It was unfathomable. My anger trembled within me, yet it seemed insignificant to the trio before me. To make matters worse, after borrowing the RV, they didn't bother to refill the gas or express gratitude to my father, I lamented. Allison, why are you just standing there? Quickly return the RV to your father after cleaning the interior. Wash the car, then return it to him. We can't afford to appear thoughtless, my husband instructed. Glancing at the cluttered interior of the car, disappointment washed over me. Their disregard for both my feelings and my father's generosity was utterly unacceptable, unforgivable. After meticulously cleaning and washing the RV and ensuring the gas tank was filled, I returned it to my father. As I arrived, he greeted me with a warm smile. How was the trip? Did you have a good time? He inquired. I wasn't even considered part of their family, so I didn't go, I replied solemnly. I recounted the events of being abandoned at the highway interchange on the day of the trip and my husband's sudden decision to live with his parents without consulting me. As I spoke, my father's smile twisted into a furious scowl. I advocated for you, Allison, and they dared to subject you to such treatment. Unbelievable. We won't let this go unanswered. I won't stand by while they walk all over you, Allison. We'll get our revenge, he declared vehemently. How? I asked, intrigued. I have a secret plan, and I've found the perfect camping spot. Listen closely, my incredible daughter. It's bound to work, he replied, a mischievous glint in his eye. This is the perfect opportunity to reel them in, I thought to myself, maintaining a composed demeanor as I addressed the three of them in a gentle tone. I've stumbled upon a spot even more remarkable than yesterday's. The autumn foliage is breathtaking right now. Instead of sticking to the confines of an RV, why not embark on a full-fledged camping trip? Picture pitching a tent, indulging in a barbecue amidst stunning scenery, and by nightfall, you'll be treated to a sky adorned with countless stars. Intrigued, my husband inquired, really? Where is this place? It's a hidden gem that I want to keep to ourselves. Can I join you to fulfill my role as your wife? I asked. That sounds great. It'll be a blast. Since it's in a secluded area, I'll take the wheel, my husband replied. I'll behave as your wife and as my in-law's daughter-in-law. Can I tag along? As expected, my husband and his parents were thrilled and readily agreed for me to join them. We decided to embark on another camping trip the following weekend. True to form, they left all the preparations to me, and their relentless attempts to instill discipline only intensified with each passing day. Holding on to my secret plan, I meticulously arranged my revenge, and the day of our excursion arrived. I borrowed an RV from my father, drove to a remote campsite, and watched as my husband and in-laws brimmed with excitement. Wow, it's like our own private paradise, they exclaimed eagerly, taking in the new surroundings. Let's go for a walk and soak in the scenery, Allison. You set up the tent, my husband instructed. Understood. Enjoy your stroll, I replied calmly. With that, I bid farewell to the jubilant trio and began preparations for our camping adventure. About 30 minutes later, my husband called in a panic. Are you lost? I can't find your dad's RV. I'm heading home with it, he exclaimed. What do you mean? I questioned, bewildered. Don't worry. I left you with the essentials for a true camping experience. This was my father's idea. He suggested we try wilderness camping, where we fend for ourselves, akin to being stranded on a deserted island rather than at a cushy campsite with electricity and nearby amenities, he explained. You should set up your tent quickly and gather wood for a fire. I know you don't have a lighter, so you'll have to start the fire the old-fashioned way. I left a pot so you can at least cook some rice, he added. You left us behind. I exclaimed in disbelief. You were the ones who insisted I, as your wife, wasn't part of the family and shouldn't come camping with you. So I dropped you off at the campsite and tearfully returned home. Isn't that what you wanted? My husband fell silent, momentarily struck by the weight of my words. Fine, enjoy camping with just your family, I retorted, preparing to end the call. But before I could hang up, my husband erupted in rage. That's absurd. Come back now, or I'll file for divorce, he threatened. Fine, let's get divorced. You'll regret saying that. After being abandoned on the highway and finding my father's beloved RV vandalized, I've had my fill of living with your disrespectful parents. I countered. And you'll be the ones regretting it, I added, my disgust evident. With a click, he abruptly ended the call, leaving me fuming. Though I was nearby, I had no desire to go retrieve them. Eventually, my phone rang again, and this time my husband's tone was markedly different. His voice trembled with confusion as he confessed. I can't set up the tent, no matter what. It's raining, and my parents are angry. It's getting cold. What should I do? It's cold, my husband confessed, a hint of regret evident. Regretting already? That was fast. I retorted dryly. Why don't you watch a YouTube tutorial on setting up a tent? Forget the tent. My father yanked it too hard and tore it apart. Allison, you've had your fun. Now adjust your attitude and come pick us up, he demanded. I'm not coming. If you walk for about an hour, you'll reach a main road. If you're not going to camp, then come down here with your belongings. I countered firmly. What? Just because I'm asking nicely doesn't mean you can act all high and mighty, he snapped back. Realizing my husband's true nature, my feelings toward him cooled considerably. All I could manage was a weary sigh. Forget it. I'm going to ditch all this useless stuff. Just wait until we get home, he threatened. That's private property. Don't think anything there is illegal. You know there's a sign that clearly says no littering, I warned sternly. Despite my firm tone, my husband seemed to doubt my resolve regarding the divorce. I had to bring reality to light. After our divorce, I'll be seeking compensation for the emotional distress caused by all the harassment you've subjected me to, I asserted firmly. What? Divorce? Is that? My husband stuttered in disbelief. I'm dead serious. My dad's RV's dashcam recorded our entire conversation since I was abandoned on the highway. You can't deny it. And I documented every conversation of your harassment afterward, I explained calmly. Let's calm down. We've no savings, just mortgage payments. If you refuse the divorce, I'll take it to court. It'll become a significant issue, and everyone in the family will know, I warned. My husband fell silent. I could hear my in-laws, but their presence no longer fazed me. My husband began to speak, but the call abruptly disconnected. Afterward, my in-laws bombarded me with calls, but I ignored them. Eventually, the calls ceased. My father's revenge plot worked. I swiftly completed the divorce papers, left them on the table, and returned home, where my loving father awaited. Interestingly, my husband and in-laws took 3 hours to descend the mountain, a journey that typically took only 1 hour. My husband stormed over to my parents' house, demanding to talk. Speak to my father. He's not in the mood for games, I replied coolly, standing by my father's side as he loomed intimidatingly in the doorway. My father wasted no time in giving my husband a piece of his mind, effectively shutting him down. Meanwhile, up in the mountains, they left their gear behind, embroiling themselves in a lawsuit for illegal dumping filed by my father. I wonder what punishment will be handed down, I mused. Following the divorce, I received $1 million each from my husband and in-laws as compensation. My husband's house faced foreclosure, compelling him to relocate, where they now live as a modest family of 3. But as they say, no use crying over spilled milk. I returned to my former workplace, reclaiming the lifestyle that suits me best. Next month, I'm looking forward to a camping trip with my parents, anticipating joy and relaxation.